record to the computer. All right, this is the last Illustrator demo deep dive. So we did object path and transformed it and deleted certain parts of the forms. Now I'm going to show 3 different ways of using object, offset path, or radial, or making a pattern. Just more fun ways to work with your shape. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit again, and I will make sure that I've got enough of my shape to do the next part. If I want to make a conventional abstraction, it can be literally as simple as mirroring. So when I paste something even in this small section here, I could always Control C, Control V, and mirror it by right-clicking, going to transform, reflect. I'll keep it on vertical, sure. But you could also change the angle at which it's reflecting. But for now, I'll just keep it vertical. But there's another way you can do it too. You can also go here, object, repeat, mirror. And this is where you can actually change the distance that the mirrored portion overlaps itself or goes away from itself. There's a circle up here that allows you to rotate it. You can see how much it rotates. And again, you can kind of bring it slowly closer together or further apart. But that's a lot more control of how you get the mirroring kind of effect. And I don't remember what this bottom circle does. Oh, it just rotates it back the other way. Weirdly, creates like a half section of a shape. But anyways, I'm going to click outside of that, double clicked. Now I've got just a conventional abstraction of the shape. Clicking, holding Shift as I resize it, just so it stays there. There's other ways to do lots of twists and turns. So I'm going to copy and paste this form again. And now that it's selected, I'm going to kind of put it in the center. And I'm going to choose Object, Repeat Radial. It makes this crazy compound shape that you can either choose how many copies you want. So this is 7 instances, 6, 5, 4, 3. I'll just use 3 instances for now. If I click this circle, it allows me to do a little dance with how close these all are and the angle. So maybe I want these to actually overlap a little. Let's go, sure, that looks fun. And if I go to Object, Expand, and click OK for the object and fill, I can once again use Pathfinder to merge all those overlapping layers. That is how you will do this conventional abstraction using not just mirroring, but rotating. And then the last one, just try another version of some kind of advanced transformation. In my case, I made the same shape, but this time I messed with the stroke. So now I'm going to make the interior fill non-existent, transparent. And then I've got all these brush options again. That's the usual one. It's usually a good idea to move outside of the usual 5-point round stroke and just play around to see what you like. Even when you select a brush, I think you can still affect the stroke. So this is me messing with a 2-point stroke. Now, if I want to keep working with it, I could either expand appearance or just go straight to repeat. You can do radial or mirror. And I think the other option is grid. This just makes a pattern. But the nice thing about using grid is that you can really control what the negative space would be like between all of these. When you go and click this horizontal button, if you obviously click the vertical one, now I can change this. the reason all that stuff is helpful is because when I zoom out, I've got this one that says grid. You could do an option for the grid there. If you remember how to deal with something that kind of goes outside the bounds of what you want, you can use Pathfinder's crop. So I'm going to click direct selection tool off so that I can click it again and just resize it. When I click the corner, you can see it's like not changing just the left and right, it changes it proportionally because I'm holding down shift. I'm going to put it over here, make a new rectangle or new square, zoom in, plop my square on top of this. It should be easy to build because it's snapping to my grid. And now when I select this with shift, it means I'm selecting both because it's not just the box, but it's the box and the pattern underneath it. And when I click crop, it should have cropped it. If it doesn't, the answer is almost always object expand. Let's see if that helps to crop it. Oops, it did not. And that's because I forgot that this has a stroke on it as well. So there's lots of problems that can happen when you're using Illustrator. So what I want to do is make sure that just this, not my box that was made out of a line, I want to make sure that just this is being expanded. Yes, okay, object and fill. Do it a couple times just to be safer than sorry. Now I'm going to go back over again with this square, select this pattern, select crop, and see if it works this time. Cross my fingers. Yay! Okay. Let's see, the last Illustrator fun thing is, oh, pattern. So grid is very grid-like. Pattern has a lot of options. It's pretty much the same thing as what is in Photoshop. But zooming out, just to show you, I'm going to copy this over. And this will be in the, where did I do the pattern? Grid, okay. We'll go down to grid. Utilizing a grid, there we are. That's my starting idea. There's my object. Go to object, pattern. So when I hit make, it's just going to make the pattern, which is kind of boring until you realize how many different options you can click. And the pattern has now been added to my swatches panel over here, which is convenient. If I want more space around this, I could say, give me 2 inches around that shape. Or you could say negative 0.5 inches, so it overlaps itself. I'm going to stick with maybe 0.5 space. No, that's too small. I'll stick with 1. Still too small. 1.3. And if you look at that negative space around it, what's nice about the pattern is it will automatically rotate all of these. So I can really look at the negative space between the shapes to figure out, do I like it? I'm going to say I like it there. But wait, there's more. Okay, tile type. Doesn't just have to be a grid. It could also be by a column. It could also be by a row. And it could also be interchanging by brick by row or brick by column. And the brick offset could be different styles, but what am I looking for? I'm looking for something else. There should be another pattern mode where I can kind of flip things. I'll just go to column. Object pattern, no. Not the copy. Didn't make it. I know that if I create a square, it'll just be black, but if I click my swatch, there we go, it should make my pattern. But I fear that I didn't do something right because there's supposed to be another option where I can keep messing with this pattern. And it has to do with how it flips over itself. All right, well, I'll look for it again later. Repeat options. Grid. Ah, found it. It is under grid repeat. It is not under pattern. Okay. So this is confusing, but the other option besides pattern is grid repeat. So I'm copying this, putting this here. Object, repeat, grid. And then, even though that seems boring, oops, I will extend it larger. If I go to object, options, you've got all of these options where depending on what you click, it's going to flip different things or rotate things. And this is how you can make all these different patterns. So I think 1, 2, 3, between these 3 grid types and clicking these 4 buttons, there should be a lot of options. And that's how you can get one of your grids, is either through pattern or through grid. Command, oh, I need to make this a square. Object, expand. Okay,